And now, a special playoff edition of Donny Boast, Weekly Football Flash, with your host, Donny Boast.
Ladies and gentlemen, the playoffs will now begin. The wild card round will kick off in just a few minutes here, with the Tennessee Titans, of course, visiting the Kansas City Chiefs. Are they the Chiefs today, or are they the Chiefs? We will soon know. Right now, they're favored by 8.5 points, but I don't think the game's going to go that way. I think this game is going to be a lot closer than Chiefs fans want it to be. I think Dick LeBeau, coaching a very, very strong Tennessee defensive side, will have the Chiefs looking at... They're going to have to be very efficient today, will the Chiefs. There's going to be a lot of different looks. There's going to be a lot of intrigue on the part of the Tennessee Titans. They are going to have to attack the Kansas City Chiefs, and Alex Smith isn't necessarily the best quarterback when you throw different looks at him in the cold weather, etc., etc. He has a lot of weapons here, and that's part of the issue, is he has to get them all going and get them all going early to keep Tennessee off balance. All that being said, we do think the Chiefs are going to win. We have the score, the final, at Chiefs 27, Titans 23, with some closeness in the first half, and of course, the Chiefs pulling out in the end, and the field goal kicker will be big for the Chiefs today, as he has been all year. There's really no reason to mention his name because, of course, he is a kicker. Marcus Mariota will make his first start today, and a lot of talk about how much he's going to run the ball and if he's going to get going in the running game and if that's going to really spark the Tennessee running game, which has fallen off in the last few weeks with a lot of injuries on the offensive side. That is a weakness for Tennessee, is the injuries. The other weakness, of course, is that their offense really isn't that good. And there is some talk about Mariota regressing, almost to the point where it looks like Belaki now, the coach, is on the hot seat, because when you have some talent out there with Mariota, who did some great things in his first 2 years, you expect bigger things in his third year, and that just didn't happen this season. So that's what we're looking at out there in Kansas City, where it's going to be cold, but it should be kind of boring at the start, with maybe some excitement coming around in the second half, of course. Moving out west, the Los Angeles Rams will host the Atlanta Falcons. Oh boy, are they the Lambs or are they the Rams? Well, they're the Rams now, that's for sure. And in another game that a lot of shops see as being a keep ball game, we see as being a high-flying, explosive affair. You're always going to get one of those in the wild card round, and if any of them match up like that, it's going to have to be this one. I think there's going to be some keep ball in theory, but it's just not going to last. These two explosive offenses are going to look to explode. The Rams do a very good job of coming out with a good script. I see them going up early, with Atlanta making a comeback near the end, but of course the Rams will prevail. We have it at 38-33, the Rams victorious over Atlanta. But what's interesting here is really how the offenses are going to react to the other team's defenses. Of course, Aaron Donald is the big story of the defense on the Rams, and the Atlanta Falcons really don't have much of a front seven compared to what the Rams can provide, especially considering that Wade Phillips is the coach of the Rams defense. But when you have Dan Quinn, the head coach of Atlanta, you know that defense is his passion. You think he might have his guys ready. I think he might, but I don't think it's going to be enough to stop Todd Gurley, and that's what it boils down to. The Atlanta front seven will not be able to stop Todd Gurley. And in the end, Todd Gurley will run roughshod over everybody in Atlanta. That's how I see this game going. I don't see the Rams necessarily spreading out Atlanta. I don't think that's necessary. I do see Atlanta trying to spread out the Rams, and I think that would be effective for them, but it just won't be enough to stop the beast, the MVP, for all intents and purposes, Todd Gurley. Now, tomorrow we have some other games as well. They might not be as exciting as today's games, but they do warrant some interest. The Jacksonville Jaguars will host the Buffalo Bills. This will be the blowout of the weekend. The Jags Well, let's face it, they're a heck of a lot better than the Bills, and the Bills shouldn't be there. It should be the Chargers, but it's not. So whenever a team gets into the playoffs that didn't deserve to be there, really had no business being there, and only got there because somebody else did something wrong, that's when we always bet against them. We see this game as being very boring and very lopsided, with the Jags thumping the Bills 31-6. I don't really see how it's going to go any different than that. If the Jags are going to win a playoff game, this is the one to win, and they should win it handily. I just don't think the Bills have anything on offense to even compete with this very tough Jags defense, especially at home. Blake Bortles, of course, will be the interesting story of the game. He might have a good game, and he might get some praise for that, but of course he will be at home, and all he'll really have to do is make sure he doesn't turn the ball over in a game that will come down to some level of field position, which should favor the Jags, who I see just completely obliterating the Bills with lots of turnovers, sacks, interceptions, all sorts of fun stuff. So, moving on. The big one. The Saints, the New Orleans Saints, hosting the Carolina Panthers. Now, there's a lot of talk of the Panthers coming on strong as of late in the season. There was a lot of talk about them not doing so well in the middle of the season. There was a lot of talk about the Panthers all year, to keep the long story short. The bottom line is we are not a believer in the Panthers over here at the Donny Boast Show. We think they're a one-trick pony. We think they're a one-look pony. The Saints, on the other hand, very dynamic. Very, very, very dynamic offense, of course, led by the great Drew Brees and the rookie, Mr. Kamara. And, of course, the great coach Sean Payton. And now Dennis Allen coaching a defense that should be able to stuff the one-sided attack, really, of the Carolina Panthers. I don't see the Panthers doing much in this game. I think the Dome will be exciting. I think the Dome will be explosive. And I think the Saints are going to thump the Panthers 34-17. And Cam Newton, of course, will have all sorts of funny hats and excuses after the game. But nonetheless, it will be a big win for the Saints, who will quietly go to the next round of the playoffs, where Drew Brees can do more damage.